Crimea. Crimea, Russian, Krym, IPA, Krym, Ukrainian, Krym, romanized, Krym, Crimean Tatar, Kirim, romanized, Kırım/Kirim, ancient Greek, Kimmería/Taurikē, romanized. Kimmería/Taurikē is a peninsula located on the northern coast of the Black Sea in Eastern Europe that is almost completely surrounded by both the Black Sea and the smaller Sea of Azov to the northeast. Crimea is located south of the Ukrainian region of Kherson, to which it is connected by the Isthmus of Perekop. The Arabat Spit is located to the northeast, a narrow strip of land that separates a system of lagoons named Sivash from the Sea of Azov. Across the Black Sea to its west is Romania, and to its south, Turkey. Crimea, or Tauric Peninsula, as it was called from antiquity until the early modern period, has historically been at the boundary between the classical world and the Pontic-Caspian steppe. Its southern fringe was colonized by the Greeks, the Persians, the Romans, the Byzantine Empire, the Crimean Goths, the Genoese, and the Ottoman Empire, while at the same time its interior was occupied by a changing cast of invading steppe nomads and empires, such as the Cimmerians, Scythians, Sarmatians, Goths, Alans, Bulgars, Huns, Khazars, Kipchaks, Mongols, and the Golden Horde. Crimea and adjacent territories were united in the Crimean Khanate during the 15th to 18th century. In 1783, Crimea was annexed by the Russian Empire as the result of the Russo-Turkish War 1768–1774. Following the Russian Revolution of 1917, Crimea became an autonomous republic within the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic in the USSR. During World War II, Crimea was downgraded to the Crimean Oblast after its entire indigenous population, the Crimean Tatars, were deported to Central Asia, an act recognized as a genocide by Ukraine and 3 other countries. In 1954, it was transferred to the Ukrainian SSR from the Russian SFSR. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, Ukraine was re-established as an independent state in 1991, and most of the peninsula was reorganized as the Autonomous Republic of Crimea, while the city of Sevastopol retained its special status within Ukraine. The 1997 Partition Treaty on the Status and Conditions of the Black Sea Fleet partitioned the former Soviet Black Sea Fleet and allowed Russia to continue basing its fleet in Crimea. Both the Ukrainian naval forces and Russia's Black Sea Fleet were to be headquartered in Sevastopol. Ukraine extended Russia's lease of the naval facilities under the 2010 Kharkiv Pact in exchange for further discounted natural gas. In February 2014, following the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution that ousted the Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, Russia annexed Crimea after a military intervention by pro-Russian separatists and Russian armed forces. A controversial Crimea-wide referendum, illegal under the Ukrainian and Crimean constitutions, was held on the issue of reunification with Russia. Its official results showed over 90% support for reunification. However, the vote was boycotted by many loyal to Ukraine and declared illegitimate by Western governments and the United Nations. Russia formally annexed Crimea on 18 March 2014, incorporating the Republic of Crimea and the federal city of Sevastopol as the 84th and 85th federal subjects of Russia. The status of Crimea is disputed. It is claimed by Ukraine and recognized as Ukrainian by the United Nations and most other countries. Name. The classical name Taurus or Taurikē is from the Greek Taurikē, after the peninsula's Scytho-Cimmerian inhabitants, the Tauri. Strabo Geography Roman 7:4. 3. Roman 11. 2. 5. Polybius Histories 4. 39. 4. And Ptolemy Geographia. Roman 2, v. 9. 5 refer variously to the Strait of Kerch as the Kimmérikos Bosporos, romanized spelling. The Crimean Tatar name of the peninsula is Kırım, Crimean Tatar Kırım, romanized Kırım/Kirim, and so also for the city of Krym, which is now called Stary Krym, which served as a capital of the Crimean province of the Golden Horde. Some sources hold that the name of the capital was extended to the entire peninsula at some point during Ottoman suzerainty. But the earliest recorded use of the toponym Crimea for the peninsula occurred between 1315 and 1329 AD by the Arab writer Abu al-Fida, where he recounts a political fight in 1300–1301 AD resulting in a rival's decapitation and having sent his head to the Crimea. The origin of the word Qırım is uncertain. Suggestions argued in various sources include a corruption of Sumerian Greek, Kimmerikan, a derivation from the Turkic term Qırım foss, trench from kari to fence, protect. Other suggestions, either unsupported or contradicted by sources, apparently based on similarity in sound, include a derivation from the Greek kremnoi, in post-classical Koine Greek pronunciation, Krimni, i.e., the cliffs, a port on Lake Meotis, Sea of Azov, cited by Herodotus in the Histories 4:20, 1 and 4:110. 2. However, Herodotus identifies the port not in Crimea, but as being on the west coast of the Sea of Azov. No evidence has been identified that this name was ever in use for the peninsula. The Turkic term, e.g., in Turkish, Kirim is related to the Mongolian appellation Kırım wall. The spelling Crimea is the Italian form, i.e., La Crimea, since at least the 17th century, and the Crimean Peninsula becomes current during the 18th century, gradually replacing the classical name of Taurikē Peninsula in the course of the 19th century. In English usage since the early modern period, the Crimean khanate is referred to as Krim Tartary. The omission of the definite article in English Crimea rather than the Crimea became common during the later 20th century. The classical name was used in 1802 in the name of the Russian Taurikē Governorate, while it was replaced with Krym Ukrainian, Krym Russian, Krym in the Soviet Union, and has had no official status since 1921. It is still used by some institutions in Crimea, such as the Taurikē National University, the Tavrika Simferopol Football Club, or the Tavrika Federal Highway. History. Ancient history. In the 8th century BCE, the Cimmerians migrated to the area in retreat from Scythian advances, of whom the latter also migrated to the region. Contemporaneously, and possibly because of the migration, the region came within the sphere of Greek maritime interest and became the site of Greek colonies. The most important Greek city was Chersonesos at the edge of today's Sevastopol. The Persian Achaemenid Empire, under Darius I, expanded to Crimea as part of his campaigns against the Scythians in 513 BCE. The peninsula, then under the control of the Bosporan kingdom, later became a client kingdom of the Roman Empire in 63 BCE. Medieval history. In the 9th century CE, Byzantium established the theme of Kherson to defend against incursions by the Rus Khaganate. The Crimean Peninsula from this time was contested between Byzantium, Rus, and Khazaria. The area remained the site of overlapping interests and contact between the early medieval Slavic, Turkic, and Greek spheres. It became a center of slave trade. Slavs were sold to Byzantium and other places in Anatolia and the Middle East during this period. The peninsula was wrested from the Byzantines by the Kievan Rus in the 10th century. The last Byzantine outpost, Chersonesus, was taken in 988 AD. A year later, Grand Prince Vladimir of Kiev accepted the hand of Emperor Basil Roman II's sister Anna in marriage, and was baptized by the local Byzantine priest at Chersonesus, thus marking the entry of Rus' later Russia into the Christian world. Mongol Conquest 1238–1449. Trapezuntine Paratia had already been subjected to pressure from the Genos and Kipchaks by the time Alexios I of Trebizond died in 1222, before the Mongol invasions began its western sweep through Volga Bulgaria in 1223. With them, control of the peninsula changed in 1238, as all but the Paratia of Crimea was incorporated into the territory of the Golden Horde throughout the 14th century CE. In the course of the 13th century CE, portions were controlled by the Republic of Venice and by the Republic of Genoa. The Paratia soon became the Principality of Theodoro and Genos Gazaria, respectively. Crimean Khanate 1449–1783. The Crimean Khanate, a vassal state of the Ottoman Empire, succeeded the Golden Horde and lasted from 1449 to 1783. During the period of the Crimean Khanate, the many pre-Catherine peoples, including Crimean Greeks, Italians, Goths, Cumans, and Kipchaks of Crimea, merged into the Crimean Tatar nations Tat, Yeliboylu, and Steppe or Nogay subgroups. The nobility of the Nogay subgroup gained much of their revenue and political power from the slave trade. Russian Empire 1783–1917. In 1774, the Khanate was proclaimed independent under the Treaty of Kukuk-Kaynarka with the Ottomans, but was then conquered by the Russian Empire in 1783. The Taurikē Oblast was created by a decree of Catherine the Great on 2 February 1784. The center of the oblast was first in Kara-Bazar but was moved to Simferopol later in 1784. The establishment decree divided the oblast into 7 uyezds. However, by a decree of Paul I on 12 December 1796, the oblast was abolished and the territory, divided into 2 uyezds, Akhmechetski and Perekopski, was attached to the second incarnation of the Novorossiysk Governorate. From 1853 to 1856, the peninsula was the site of the principal engagements of the Crimean War, a conflict fought between the Russian Empire and an alliance of France, Britain, the Ottoman Empire, and Sardinia. Russian Civil War 1917–1921. Following the Russian Revolution of 1917, the military and political situation in Crimea was chaotic like that in much of Russia. During the ensuing Russian Civil War, Crimea changed hands numerous times and was for a time a stronghold of the anti-Bolshevik White Army. The White Army controlled Crimea before remnants were finally driven out by the Red Army in November 1920. It was in Crimea that the White Russians led by General Rangel made their last stand against Nestor Makhno and the Red Army. When resistance was crushed, many of the anti-communist fighters, civilians, escaped by ship to Istanbul. Between 56,000 and 150,000 of the whites were murdered as part of the Red Terror organized by Balakhan. Soviet Union 1921–1991. Crimea became part of the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic in 1921 as the Crimean Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic, which became part of the Soviet Union in 1922. Autonomy in Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic 1921–1944. During the Second World War, the peninsula was invaded by Nazi Germany and Romanian troops in summer 1941 across the Isthmus of Perekop. Following the capture of Sevastopol on 4 July 1942, Crimea was occupied until German and Romanian forces were expelled in an offensive by Soviet forces ending in May 1944. The Nazis murdered around 40,000 Crimean Jews. Region in Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic 1945–1954. On 25 June 1946, it was downgraded to the Crimean Oblast, and the Crimean Tatars were deported for alleged collaboration with the Nazi forces. A total of more than 230,000 people, about a fifth of the total population of the Crimean Peninsula at that time, were deported, mainly to Uzbekistan. 14,300 Greeks, 12,075 Bulgarians, and about 10,000 Armenians were also expelled. Region in Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic 1954–1991. On 19 February 1954, the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of the USSR issued a decree on the transfer of the Crimean region of the RSFSR to the Ukrainian SSR. This Supreme Soviet decree states that this transfer was motivated by the commonality of the economy, the proximity, and close economic and cultural relations between the Crimean region and the Ukrainian SSR. At that time, no vote or referendum took place, and Crimean population had no say in the transfer, also typical of other Soviet border changes. For the annexation of Crimea by the Russian Federation, doubts have been expressed from the Russian side by all means, but even by Western historians Richard Sakwa, Frontline Ukraine. Crisis in the Borderlands, 2015, about the very legitimacy of the 1954 transition of Crimea to Ukraine. In the critics' view, the transition contradicted even the Soviet law. In post-war years, Crimea thrived as a tourist destination, with new attractions and sanatoriums for tourists. Tourists came from all around the Soviet Union and neighboring countries, particularly from the German Democratic Republic. In time, the peninsula also became a major tourist destination for cruises originating in Greece and Turkey. Crimea's infrastructure and manufacturing also developed, particularly around the seaports at Kerch and Sevastopol, and in the oblast's landlocked capital, Simferopol. Populations of Ukrainians and Russians alike doubled, with more than 1.6 million Russians and 626,000 Ukrainians living on the peninsula by 1989. Ukrainian Republic de jure since 1991. De facto 1991–2014. In January 1991, a referendum was held in the Crimean Oblast, and voters approved restoring the Crimean Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic. However, after the dissolution of the Soviet Union less than a year later, the Autonomous Republic of Crimea was formed as a constituent entity of independent Ukraine, with a slight majority of Crimean voters approving Ukrainian independence in a December referendum. On 5 May 1992, the Crimean legislature declared conditional independence, but a referendum to confirm the decision was never held amid opposition from Kiev. Elected president of Crimea Yuri Meshkov was replaced by Kiev-appointed Anatoly Franchuk, which was done with the intent to rein in Crimean aspirations of autonomy. The Verkhovna Rada, the Parliament of Crimea, voted to grant Crimea extensive home rule during the dispute. Budapest Memorandum on Security Assurances acknowledged Ukrainian integrity. The last election of the Verkhovna Rada of Crimea took place on 31 October 2010 and was won by the Party of Regions. On 15 March 2014, the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine officially dissolved the Verkhovna Rada of Crimea, and on 17 March 2014, one day before the Russian annexation of Crimea, the State Council of Crimea was established in place of the Verkhovna Rada of Crimea. Russian Federation de facto since 2014. After the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution and the flight of Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych from Kiev on 21 February 2014, Russian President Vladimir Putin stated to colleagues that we must start working on returning Crimea to Russia. Within days, unmarked forces with local militias took over the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol, as well as occupying several localities in Kherson Oblast on the Arabat Spit, which is geographically a part of Crimea. A 2014 referendum on joining Crimea with Russia was supported by a 96.7% of voters with 83.1% turnout according to official counts. It was boycotted by many loyal to Ukraine and denounced as illegitimate by Western governments. The UN General Assembly approved a resolution declaring the vote illegal and invalid. Putin signed a treaty of accession with the self-declared Republic of Crimea, annexing it into the Russian Federation as two federal subjects, the Republic of Crimea and the federal city of Sevastopol. Though Russia had control over the peninsula, sovereignty was disputed as Ukraine and the majority of the international community consider the annexation illegal, as was shown by the United Nations General Assembly adopting a non-binding resolution calling upon states not to recognize changes to the integrity of Ukraine. A range of international sanctions have remained in place against Russia and a number of named individuals as a result of the events of 2014. Russia withdrew its forces from southern Kherson in December 2014. Since Russian control over Crimea was established in 2014, the peninsula has been administered as part of the Russian Federation except for the northern areas of the Arabat Spit and the Sivash, which are still controlled by Ukraine. Within days of the signing of the accession treaty, the process of integrating Crimea into the Russian Federation began. In March, the Russian ruble went into official circulation and clocks were moved forward to Moscow time. In April, a new revision of the Russian constitution was officially released, with the Republic of Crimea and the federal city of Sevastopol included in the list of federal subjects of the Russian Federation. And in June, the Russian ruble became the only form of legal tender. In July 2015, Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev stated that Crimea had been fully integrated into Russia. Since 2014, the Russian government has invested heavily in the peninsula's infrastructure, repairing roads, modernizing hospitals, and building the Crimean Bridge that links the peninsula to the Russian mainland. New sources of water are trying to be developed, with huge difficulties, to replace closed Ukrainian sources. Once Kiev has lost control of the territory in 2014, it shut off the water supply of the North Crimean Canal, which supplies 85% of the peninsula's freshwater needs from the Dnipro River, the nation's main waterway. Now Russia is dependent on existing infrastructure and is limited by Russian civil engineering to manage the crisis, as the international community refuses to help. In 2017, the Russian government also began modernizing the Simferopol International Airport, which opened its new terminal in April 2018. Russia provides electricity to Crimea via a cable beneath the Kerch Strait. In June 2018, there was a full electrical outage for all of Crimea, but the power grid company Rossity reported to have fixed the outage in approximately 1 hour. On 28 December 2018, Russia completed a high-tech security fence marking the de facto border between Crimea and Ukraine. Languages. Article 10 of the Constitution of the Republic of Crimea recognizes 3 official languages: Russian, Ukrainian, and Crimean Tatar. In practice, Russian is the dominant language. Geography. Covering an area of 27,000 km to 10,425 sq mi, Crimea is located on the northern coast of the Black Sea and on the western coast of the Sea of Azov. The only land border is shared with Ukraine's Kherson Oblast on the north. Crimea is almost an island and only connected to the continent by the Isthmus of Perekop, a strip of land about 5.7 kilometers 3.14 mi wide. Much of the natural border between the Crimean Peninsula and the Ukrainian mainland comprises the Sivash or Rotten Sea, a large system of shallow lagoons stretching along the western shore of the Sea of Azov. Besides the Isthmus of Perekop, the peninsula is connected to the Kherson Oblast's Henishessk rayon by bridges over the narrow Chonhar, Henishevsk Straits and over Kerch Strait to the Krasnodar Krai. The northern part of Arabat Spit is administratively part of Henishevsk Rayon in Kherson Oblast, including its two rural communities of Shchasliv and Strilkov. The eastern tip of the Crimean Peninsula comprises the Kerch Peninsula, separated from Taman Peninsula on the Russian mainland by the Kerch Strait, which connects the Black Sea with the Sea of Azov at a width of between 313 kilometers 1.98 mi. Geographers generally divide the peninsula into three zones: steppe, mountains, and southern coast. Places. Given its long history and many conquerors, most towns in Crimea have several names. West, the Isthmus of Perekop or Kapi, about 7 km 4 mi wide, connects Crimea to the mainland. It was often fortified and sometimes garrisoned by the Turks. The North Crimean Canal now crosses it to bring water from the Dnieper. To the west, Karkanet Bay separates the Taurikēt Peninsula from the mainland. On the north side of the peninsula is Chernomorsko/Kolos Lyman. On the south side is the large Donoslav Bay and the port and ancient Greek settlement of Eupatoria/Yevpatoria/Kirkonitis/Gozlev. The coast then runs south to Sevastopol/Chersonsis, a good natural harbor, great naval base, and the largest city on the peninsula. At the head of Sevastopol Bay stands Inkerman/Kalamita. South of Sevastopol is the small Heracles Peninsula. South in the south, under Russian rule, it became a kind of Riviera. In Soviet times, the many palaces were replaced with dachas and health resorts. From west to east are Heracles Peninsula, Balaklava/Cymbalin/Sembolo, a smaller natural harbor south of Sevastopol, Foros, the southernmost point, Alupka with the Vorontsov Palace, Alupka, Gaspra. Further east is Sudak/Saudia/Soldea with its Genos fort. Further east still is Theodosia/Kaffa/Feodosia, once a great slave mart and a kind of capital for the Genos and Turks. Unlike the other southern ports, Feodosia has no mountains to its north. At the east end of the 90 km 56 mi Kerch Peninsula is Kerch/Pantikapium, once the capital of the Bosporan Kingdom. Just south of Kerch, the new Crimean Bridge, opened in 2018, connects Crimea to the Taman Peninsula. Sea of Azov, there is little on the south shore. The west shore is marked by the Arabat Spit. Behind it is the Sivash or Putrid Sea, a system of lakes and marshes which in the far north extend west to the Perekop Isthmus. Road and rail bridges cross the northern part of Sivash. Interior. Most of the former capitals of Crimea stood on the north side of the mountains. Mangup/Doros Gothic Theodoro. Bakhchisarai 1532–1783. Southeast of Bakhchisarai is the cliff fort of Chufatkale/Kirk, or which was used in more warlike times. Simferopol/Akhmechit, the modern capital. Karasu Bazar/Bilohorsk was a commercial center. Salkat/Stary Krym was the old Tatar capital. Towns on the northern steppe area are all modern, notably Dzhankoy, a major road and rail junction. Rivers. The longest is the Salhir River, which rises southeast of Simferopol and flows north and northeast to the Sea of Azov. The Alma River flows west to reach the Black Sea between Eupatoria and Sevastopol. The shorter Chornaya River Crimea flows west to Sevastopol Bay. Nearby, east of the Kerch Strait, the ancient Greeks founded colonies at Phanagoria at the head of Taman Bay, Hermanasa later Timutarakan and Taman, Gorgipia later a Turkish port, and now Anapa. At the northeast point of the Sea of Azov at the mouth of the Don River were Tanais, Azak/Azov, and now Rostov-on-Don. North of the peninsula, the Dnieper turns westward and enters the Black Sea through the east-west Dnieper-Bug estuary, which also receives the Bug River. At the mouth of the Bug stood Alvia. At the mouth of the estuary is Ochakiv. Odessa stands where the coast turns southwest. Further southwest is Tyrus/Ackerman/Bilhorod-Dnistrovsky. Crimean Mountains. The southeast coast is flanked at a distance of 812 kilometers 5.07 mi from the sea by a parallel range of mountains, the Crimean Mountains. These mountains are backed by secondary parallel ranges. The main range of these mountains rises with extraordinary abruptness from the deep floor of the Black Sea to an altitude of 615.45 meters 1969, 5069 ft, beginning at the southwest point of the peninsula, called Cape Fiolant. It was believed that this cape was supposedly crowned with the temple of Artemis, where Iphigenia is said to have officiated as priestess. Uchin-Su, on the south slope of the mountains, is the highest waterfall in Crimea. Hydrography. There are 257 rivers and major streams on the Crimean Peninsula. They are primarily fed by rainwater, with snowmelt playing a very minor role. This makes for significant annual fluctuation in water flow, with many streams drying up completely during the summer. The largest rivers are the Salha-Salgir, the Kacha-Kacha, the Alma-Alma, and the Belbek-Belbek. Also important are the Kakazka-Kakaz or Kakazka, the Indol-Indal or Indal, the Chorna-Korgun, Chernaya or Kiornaya, the Darakoika-Darakoi or Darakoika, the Karasu-Bashi-Biak Karasu or Biak Karasu tributary of Salhir River, the Burulcha tributary of Salhir River, the Uchin-Su, and the Ulu-Yuzin. The longest river of Crimea is the Salhir at 204 km 127 mi. The Belbek has the greatest average discharge at 216 cubic meters per second 76 Q/ft/s. The Alma and the Kacha are the second and third longest rivers. There are more than 50 salt lakes and salt pans on the peninsula. The largest of them is Lake Sasek on the southwest coast. Others include Aktas, Koyashskoy, Kietsko, Kurlutsko, Kizilyar, Bakalsko, and Donoslav. The general trend is for the former lakes to become salt pans. Lake Sivash or Sivash is a system of interconnected shallow lagoons on the northeastern coast, covering an area of around 2560 km 988 sq mi. A number of dams have created reservoirs. Among the largest are the Simferopolskoy, Almanskoy, the Tagansky, and the Bilogorsky just south of Bilohorsk in Bilohorsk Rayon. The North Crimea Canal, which transports water from the Dnieper, is the largest of the man-made irrigation channels on the peninsula. Crimea is facing an unprecedented water shortage crisis. Steppe. 75% of the remaining area of Crimea consists of semi-arid prairie lands, a southward continuation of the Pontic-Caspian steppe, which slope gently to the northwest from the foothills of the Crimean Mountains. Numerous kurgans or burial mounds of the ancient Scythians are scattered across the Crimean steppes. Crimean Riviera. The terrain that lies south of the sheltering Crimean mountain range is of an altogether different character. Here, the narrow strip of coast and the slopes of the mountains are smothered with greenery. This Riviera stretches along the southeast coast from Capes Fiolant and Aya in the south to Feodosia. It is studded with summer sea bathing resorts such as Alupka, Yalta, Gurzov, Alushta, Sudak, and Feodosia. During the years of Soviet rule, the resorts and dachas of this coast served as prime perquisites of the politically loyal. In addition, vineyards and fruit orchards are located in the region. Fishing, mining, and the production of essential oils are also important. Numerous Crimean Tatar villages, mosques, monasteries, and palaces of the Russian imperial family and nobles are found here, as well as picturesque ancient Greek and medieval castles. The Crimean Mountains and the southern coast are part of the Crimean submediterranean forest complex ecoregion. The natural vegetation consists of scrublands, woodlands, and forests with a climate and vegetation similar to the Mediterranean basin. Climate. Crimea is located between the temperate and subtropical climate belts and is characterized by warm, sunny weather. It is characterized by diversity and the presence of microclimates. The northern parts of Crimea have a moderate continental climate with short, mild winters and moderately hot, dry summers. In the central and mountainous areas, the climate is transitional between the continental climate to the north and the Mediterranean climate to the south. Winters are mild at lower altitudes in the foothills and colder at higher altitudes. Summers are hot at lower altitudes and warm in the mountains. A subtropical Mediterranean climate dominates the southern coastal regions, is characterized by mild winters and moderately hot, dry summers. The climate of Crimea is influenced by its geographic location, relief, and influences from the Black Sea. The Crimean coast is shielded from cold air masses coming from the north and, as a result, has milder winters. Maritime influences from the Black Sea are restricted to coastal areas. In the interior of the peninsula, the maritime influence is weak and does not play an important role. Because a high-pressure system is located north of Crimea in both summer and winter, winds predominantly come from the north and northeast year-round. In winter, these winds bring in cold, dry continental air, while in summer they bring in dry and hot weather. Winds from the northwest bring warm and wet air from the Atlantic Ocean, causing precipitation during spring and summer. As well, winds from the southwest bring very warm and wet air from the subtropical latitudes of the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea and cause precipitation during fall and winter. Mean annual temperatures range from 10°C 0°F in the far north Armyansk to 13°C 4°F in the far south Yalta. In the mountains, the mean annual temperature is around 7°C 3°F. For every 100 m 330 ft increase in altitude, temperatures decrease by 0.65°C 17°F while precipitation increases. In January, mean temperatures range from 3°C 6°F in Armyansk to 4°C 9°F in Miskir. Cool season temperatures average around 7°C 6°F, and it is rare for the weather to drop below freezing except in the mountains, where there is usually snow. In July, mean temperatures range from 4°C 7°F in Ai Petri to 4°C 1°F in the central parts of Crimea to 4°C 9°F in Miskir. The frost-free period ranges from 160 to 200 days in the steppe and mountain regions to 240–260 days on the south coast. Precipitation in Crimea varies significantly based on location. It ranges from 310 mm 12.2 in Chornomorsk to 1220 mm 48.0 in at the highest altitudes in the Crimean Mountains. The Crimean Mountains greatly influence the amount of precipitation present in the peninsula. However, most of Crimea 5% receives 300 to 500 mm 11.8 to 19.7 in of precipitation per year. The plains usually receive 300 to 400 mm 11.8 to 15. 7 in of precipitation per year, increasing to 560 millimeters 22. 0 in the southern coast at sea level. The western parts of the Crimean Mountains receive more than 1,000 millimeters 39. 4 in of precipitation per year. Snowfall is common in the mountains during winter. Most of the peninsula receives more than 2,000 sunshine hours per year. It reaches up to 2,505 sunshine hours in Karabayala in the Crimean Mountains. As a result, the climate favors recreation and tourism. Because of its climate and subsidized travel packages from Russian state-run companies, the southern Crimean coast has remained a popular resort for Russian tourists. Strategic value. The Black Sea ports of Crimea provide quick access to the eastern Mediterranean, Balkans, and Middle East. Historically, possession of the southern coast of Crimea was sought after by most empires of the greater region since antiquity: Roman, Byzantine, Ottoman, Russian, British, and French, Nazi, German, Soviet. The nearby Dnieper River is a major waterway and transportation route that crosses the European continent from north to south and ultimately links the Black Sea with the Baltic Sea, of strategic importance since the historical trade route from the Varangians to the Greeks. The Black Sea serves as an economic thoroughfare connecting the Caucasus region and the Caspian Sea to Central and Eastern Europe. According to the International Transport Workers Federation, as of 2013, there were at least 12 operating merchant seaports in Crimea. Economy. In 2016, Crimea had nominal GDP of US $7 billion and US $3,000 per capita. The main branches of the modern Crimean economy are agriculture and fishing, oysters, pearls, industry and manufacturing, tourism, and ports. Industrial plants are situated for the most part in the southern coast Eupatoria, Sevastopol, Feodosia, Kerch regions of the Republic, few northern Armyansk, Krasnoprekovsk, Dzhankoy, aside from the central area, mainly Simferopol Okrug, and eastern region in Nizhnegorsk, few plants, same for Dzhankoj city. Important industrial cities include Dzhankoy, housing a major railway connection, Krasnoprekovsk and Armyansk, among others. After the Russian annexation of Crimea in early 2014 and subsequent sanctions targeting Crimea, the tourist industry suffered major losses for 2 years. The flow of holidaymakers dropped 35% in the first half of 2014 over the same period of 2013. The number of tourist arrivals reached a record in 2012 at 6.1 million. According to the Russian administration of Crimea, they dropped to 3.8 million in 2014 and rebounded to 5.6 million by 2016. The most important industries in Crimea include food production, chemical fields, mechanical engineering and metalworking, and fuel production industries. 60% of the industry market belongs to food production. There are a total of 291 large industrial enterprises and 1002 small business enterprises. In 2014, the Republic's annual GDP was $4.3 billion, 500 times smaller than the size of Russia's economy. The average salary was $290 per month. The budget deficit was $1.5 billion. Agriculture. Agriculture in the region includes cereals, vegetable growing, gardening, and winemaking, particularly in the Yalta and Massandra regions. Livestock production includes cattle breeding, poultry keeping, and sheep breeding. Other products produced on the Crimean Peninsula include salt, porphyry, limestone, and ironstone found around Kerch since ancient times. Pests. The vine mealybug Planococcus ficus was first discovered here in 1868. First discovered on grape, it has also been found as a pest of some other crops and has since spread worldwide. Some pests, especially Eurygaster integriceps and E. mara, are significant grain pests. Celeoninae and Tachinidae are important parasitoids of sunpest. Bark beetles are pests of tree crops and are themselves hosts for Elatomma mites. Energy. Crimea also possesses several natural gas fields both onshore and offshore, which were starting to be drilled by Western oil and gas companies before annexation. The inland fields are located in Chornomorsk and Dzhankoy, while offshore fields are located in the western coast in the Black Sea and in the northeastern coast in the Azov Sea. The Republic also possesses two oil fields, one onshore, the Serebryansk oil field in Rozdolny, and one offshore, the Subotina oil field in the Black Sea. Electricity. Crimea has 540 MW of its own electricity generation capacity, including Simferopol Thermal Power Plant 100 MW, Sevastopol Thermal Power Plant 22 MW, and Kamysh-Burinskaya Thermal Power Plant 19 MW. This is insufficient for local consumption. Since annexation by Russia, Crimea is reliant on an underwater power cable to mainland Russia. Building and near startup are two combined cycle gas steam turbo thermal plants PGU, both 470 MW 167 MW GT, 235 MW block. NPO Saturn with Perm PMZ, either GTE 110M modified or GTE 160 or 180 units, or UTZ KTZ or a V94. Two bought by Mapna, modified in Russian plants for PGU thermal plants specifics. Also, many solar photovoltaic SES plants lie along the peninsula north of Sevastopol too, a smaller facility. Also, gas thermal Saki plant close to Jodabram chemical plant and Sa KHZ Sa CHP boosted production with Perm GT GT a 25P Piece 90 GP 25 MW aeroderivative GP PGU turbogenerators. Older plants are Sevastopol TEC close to Krym, which use AEG and GANTS electro-turbines and turbogenerators about 25 MW each, Simferopol TEC North, in Agrarn Locale Eupatoria, Kamysh-Burin TEC Kerch South Zaliv, and few others. Infrastructure. Crimean Bridge. In May 2015, work began on a multi-billion-dollar road rail link a pair of parallel bridges across the Kerch Strait. The road bridge opened in May 2018, and the rail bridge opened in December 2019. With a length of 19 km, it is the longest bridge in Europe, as it overcame Vasco da Gama Bridge in Lisbon. Public transportation. Almost every settlement in Crimea is connected with another settlement by bus lines. Crimea contains the longest 96 km or 59 mi trolleybus route in the world, founded in 1959, stretching from Simferopol to Yalta. The trolleybus line starts near Simferopol's railway station. In Soviet times it started near Simferopol International Airport through the mountains to Alushta and on to Yalta. The length of line is about 90 km and passengers are assigned a seat. Simferopol, Yalta and Alushta also have an urban and suburban trolleybus network. Trolleybuses are also operated in Sevastopol and Kerch. In the city of Yevpatoria a tram system is also operated. In the nearby townlet village of Molochnoi an only 16 km long tram line provides connection between the seashore and a holiday resort, but its operation is halted since 2015. Railway traffic. There are two railroad lines running through Crimea, the non-electrified Armyansk-Kerch with a link to Feodosia, and the electrified Melitopol-Simferopol-Sevastopol with a link to Yevpatoria, connecting Crimea to the Ukrainian mainland. Until 2014 the network was part of the Sysdnepr Directorate of the Ukrainian Railways. Long-distance trains provided connection to every major Ukrainian cities, but also to many towns of Russia, Belarus, and, until the end of the 2000s, even to Vilnius, Riga, Warsaw, and Berlin. Since 2014, the railways are operated by the Crimea Railway. Local trains belong to the Yuzhnaya Prigorodnaya Passazherskaya Kompania Southern Suburban Passenger Company, serving the entire network of the peninsula and via the Crimean Bridge, 3 trains daily to Anapa. Long-distance trains under the name Tavrika operated by the company Grand Service Express connect Sevastopol and Simferopol daily with Moscow and St. Petersburg. In the summer season, Yevpatoria and Feodosia are also directly connected by them. Several times a week, Simferopol is also linked with Volgograd, Sochi, Yekaterinburg, Omsk, and even Murmansk by train. Further development plans consist of a bypass line between Simferopol and Kerch, and a complete electrification of the network with changing the voltage of the already electrified lines from 3 kV DC to 25 kV 50 HC/AC. International Airport. Simferopol International Airport's new terminal opened from April 2018 with the ability to handle 6.5 million passengers a year. It was built in 22 months and covers an area of 78,000 square meters. Highways under construction: Tavrika Highway, Route Eupatoria Sevastopol Simferopol SW to WN to East Ring Bilohursk, North Feodosia Kerch, South Strait Bridge. Eon 105/18 Sivash Bridge starts Dzhankoy, North Crimean Canal Bridge, Simferopol, Alushta, Yalta ends. A 97/M17 Perekop starts Armyansk, Dzhankoy, Feodosia, Kerch Ferry ends. At 190 Novorossiysk to Kerch via Crimean Bridge, formerly known as Highway M25. H5 Krasnoprekopsk, Simferopol access to the Simferopol International Airport. H6 Simferopol Bakhchisarai, Sevastopol. H19 Yalta, Sevastopol. 16. P23 Simferopol, Feodosia. P25 Simferopol, Yevpatoria. P27 Sevastopol, increment completely within the city of Sevastopol. P29 Alushta, Sudak, Feodosia. P34 Alushta, Yalta. P35 Hrushivka, Sudak. 58 Sevastopol, Port Komisheva Bukhta, completely within the city of Sevastopol. 59 completely within the city of Sevastopol. Sea transport. The cities of Yalta, Feodosia, Kerch, Sevastopol, Chornomorsk, and Yevpatoria are connected to one another by sea routes. Tourism. The development of Crimea as a holiday destination began in the second half of the 19th century. The development of the transport networks brought masses of tourists from central parts of the Russian Empire. At the beginning of the 20th century, a major development of palaces. These are some of the main attractions of Crimea as a tourist destination. There are many Crimean legends about famous touristic places, which attract the attention of tourists. A new phase of tourist development began when the Soviet government realized the potential of the healing quality of the local air, lakes, and therapeutic muds. It became a health destination for Soviet workers, and hundreds of thousands of Soviet tourists visited Crimea. Artek is a former young pioneer camp on the Black Sea in the town of Azov, near Ayu Dag, established in 1925. By 1969, it had an area of 3.2 km², 2 sq mi, and consisted of 150 buildings. Unlike most of the young pioneer camps, Artek was an all-year camp due to the warm climate. Artek was considered to be a privilege for Soviet children during its existence, as well as for children from other communist countries. During its heyday, 27,000 children a year vacationed at Artek. Between 1925 and 1969, the camp hosted 300,000 children. After the breaking up of the Young Pioneers in 1991, its prestige declined, though it remained a popular vacation destination. In the 1990s, Crimea became more of a getaway destination than a health improvement destination. The most visited areas are the south shore of Crimea with cities of Yalta and Alushta, the western shore Eupatoria and Saki, and the southeastern shore Feodosia and Sudak. According to National Geographic, Crimea was among the top 20 travel destinations in 2013. Places of interest include sanctions. Following Russia's largely unrecognized annexation of Crimea, the European Union, the United States, Canada, Australia, Japan, and several other countries, including Ukraine, imposed economic sanctions against Russia, including some specifically targeting Crimea. Many of these sanctions were directed at individuals, both Russian and Crimean. In general, they prohibit the sale, supply, transfer, or export of goods and technology in several sectors, including services directly related to tourism and infrastructure. They list 7 ports where cruise ships cannot dock. Sanctions against individuals include travel bans and asset freezes. Visa and MasterCard temporarily stopped service in Crimea in December 2014. The Russian national payment card system now allows Visa and MasterCard cards issued by Russian banks to work in Crimea. The Mir payment system operated by the Central Bank of Russia operates in Crimea as well as MasterCard and Visa. However, there are no major international banks in the Crimea. Politics. The politics of Crimea is that of the Republic of Crimea on one hand, and that of the federal city of Sevastopol on the other. Since becoming the 84th and 85th federal subjects of the Russian Federation in 2014, both have strongly supported United Russia in both local and national elections. At the most recent Crimean parliamentary election on 14 September 2014, United Russia won 70 of the 75 seats in the State Council of Crimea based on just over 70% of the vote. Despite calls from local Crimean Tatars for a boycott of the elections, turnout was over 53%, which compared well with elections in other regions of Russia. Following the election, Sergei Aksyonov became head of the Republic of Crimea. He had previously been acting head from 14 April 2014. United Russia is also the leading party in the Legislative Assembly of Sevastopol, having won 22 of the 24 seats at the last election. The governor of Sevastopol is Dmitry Ovsyannikov, who was first appointed on 28 July 2016 following the resignation of Sergei Meniyalo, and secured re-election on 71% of the vote on 10 September 2017. United Russia maintained its position as the most supported political party across Crimea at the Russian legislative election on 18 September 2016, achieving 72.8% of the vote. At 49.1%, turnout was slightly ahead of that for Russia as a whole, which was only 47.8%. At the 2018 Russian presidential election, Vladimir Putin secured 92% of the vote in Crimea compared to 77% across Russia as a whole. Demographics. As of 2014, the total population of the Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol was 2,248,400 people. Republic of Crimea, 1,889,485, Sevastopol, 395,000. This is down from the 2001 Ukrainian census figure, which was 2,376,000. Autonomous Republic of Crimea, 2,033,700. Sevastopol, 342,451. According to the 2014 Russian census, 84% of Crimean inhabitants named Russian as their native language, 9% Crimean Tatar, 3.7% Tatar, and 3. 3% Ukrainian. It was the first official census in Crimea since a Ukrainian-held census in 2001. According to the 2001 census, 77% of Crimean inhabitants named Russian as their native language, 11.4% Crimean Tatar, and 10.1% Ukrainian. In 2013, however, Crimean Tatar language was estimated to be on the brink of extinction, being taught in Crimea only in around 15 schools at that point. Turkey provided the greatest support to Tatars in Ukraine, which had been unable to resolve the problem of education in their mother tongue in Crimea, by bringing the schools to a modern state. Ethnic composition of Crimea's population has changed dramatically since the early 20th century. The 1897 Russian Empire census for the Taurikē Governorate reported 196,854 6% Crimean Tatars, 404,463 94% Russians, and 611,121 21% Ukrainians. But these numbers included Berdyansky, Dniprovsky, and Melitopolsky uyezds, which were on mainland, not in Crimea. The population number excluding these uyezds is given in the table below. Crimean Tatars, a predominantly Muslim ethnic minority who in 2001 made up 12.1% of the population, formed in Crimea in the late Middle Ages, after the Crimean Khanate had come into existence. The Crimean Tatars were forcibly expelled to Central Asia by Joseph Stalin's government as a form of collective punishment, on the grounds that they had formed pro-German Tatar legions. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Crimean Tatars began to return to the region. According to the 2001 Ukrainian population census, 58% of the population of Crimea are ethnic Russians and 24% are ethnic Ukrainians. Jews in Crimea were historically Krimchaks and Karaits, the latter a small group centered at Yevpatoria. The 1879 census for the Taurikē Governorate reported a Jewish population of 4.20%, not including a Karait population of 0. .43%. The Krimchaks, but not the Karaits, were targeted for annihilation during Nazi occupation. The number of Crimea Germans was 60,000 in 1939. During WW II, they were forcibly deported on the orders of Stalin, as they were regarded as a potential fifth column. This was part of the 800,000 Germans in Russia who were relocated within the Soviet Union during Stalinist times. The 2001 Ukrainian census reports just 2,500 ethnic Germans, 0.1% of population in Crimea. Besides the Crimean Germans, Stalin in 1944 also deported 70,000 Greeks, 14,000 Bulgarians, and 3,000 Italians. Religion. In 2013, Orthodox Christians made up 58% of the Crimean population, followed by Muslims 15% and believers in God without religion 10%. Following the 2014 Russian annexation of Crimea, 38 out of 46 the Ukrainian Orthodox Church Kiev Patriarchate parishes in Crimea ceased to exist. In 3 cases, churches were seized by the Russian authorities. Notwithstanding the annexation, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church Moscow Patriarchate kept control of its eparchies in Crimea. Culture. Alexander Pushkin visited Bakhchisarai in 1820 and later wrote the poem The Fountain of Bakhchisarai. Crimea was the background for Adam Mickiewicz' seminal work, The Crimean Sonnets, inspired by his 1825 travel. A series of 18 sonnets constitute an artistic telling of a journey to and through the Crimea, They feature romantic descriptions of the oriental nature and culture of the East, which show the despair of an exile longing for the homeland. Ivan Ayvazovsky, the 19th century marine painter of Armenian origin, who is considered one of the major artists of his era, was born in Feodosia and lived there for the most part of his life. Many of his paintings depict the Black Sea. He also created battle paintings during the Crimean War. Crimean Tatar singer Jamala won the Eurovision Song Contest 2016 representing Ukraine with her song 1944 about the historic deportation of Crimean Tatars in that year by Soviet authorities. According to the broken in practice by Russian companies, Ukrainian law on concert activities, only Ukrainian companies can organize concerts in Crimea. Sport. Following Crimea's vote to join Russia and subsequent annexation in March 2014, the top football clubs withdrew from the Ukrainian leagues. Some clubs registered to join the Russian leagues, but the Football Federation of Ukraine objected. UEFA ruled that Crimean clubs could not join the Russian leagues but should instead be part of a Crimean league system. The Crimean Premier League is now the top professional football league in Crimea. A number of Crimean-born athletes have been given permission to compete for Russia instead of Ukraine at future competitions, including Vera Rybrik, the European javelin champion. Due to Russia currently being suspended from all international athletic competitions, Rybrik participates in tournaments as a neutral athlete. Gallery.